Hello, hello. Happy time zone, everyone. Happy Monday. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Stitch stream. Gonna be doing some stitching today. I say that as if it's an unusual thing, which like last time it was. I was working on wax seals last time, sealing up some envelopes with wax, and then we did some cross stitching. But all stitching today, all stitches. But hello to folks who are here. Hello, Irish Disney Nerd. Hello, Sarah Cat. Hello, Meow is my love language. Hello, Joe and Dor and Mikey. Welcome, everyone. So you discussing weather. It is cold here, too. Although I think I'm getting used to the cold. Because I was just checking. It is definitely below freezing. And that it's been in the 20s, and I feel like 20s to 30s not feeling like a huge difference to me these days. And we have so much snow. I am not sure how much snow we ultimately got over the weekend. It was snowing most of the weekend. And I finally shoveled this morning, and I mean, I think it was at least 5 inches. Like when I was shoveling, that's what was sort of, you know, what the snowbanks, or not what the snowbanks were, those were taller, obviously, but, yeah, so lots of snow and lots of cold here, but that's New England. I'm, like, reading some of your comments, I'm like, oh no, I have more snow, it is colder here. I think I need to get used to being one of the colder, snowier locations in the US, which is also colder and snowier than a lot of other nations. Let's see. Bit warmer for now. Gonna go down to freezing temperatures again in the next few days. Be nice if we go above freezing temperatures at some point here. We had that for a bit though. There was a warm front like last week or so. Door's jumping ahead of me, asking what folks are working on today. So let's see. Dinner for Sarah first, and then Sisters Commission, working on those graduation caps again. That is so much fun. How many graduation caps have you finished? I don't know if you've worked on it since last Monday, and totally fine if you haven't. No, I'm not trying to pressure you, but just curious how many graduation caps you've done. Normal for England is not snowy, but you had snow last week for a day or so, and that's nice to get a little bit of snow just as a little bit of like winter magic, you know. Okay, Irish Disney Nerd. You're saying apparently the Aurora are visible from Dublin. I just got like a push notification that they might be visible in New Jersey, and I have yet to look up if that also means they might be visible in Massachusetts, because Google News has the most irrelevant push notifications. There's very little you can do to customize like your interests of what you want push notifications for, and it's supposed to just sort of like guess based on your behavior. But like all I get every single Premier League like trade update, even though most of them I say I do not want this. I never open any of them, and I'm like, fewer of this please, every time. And the majority of the news push notifications I get from Google News are about Premier League trades, and then I will frequently get news from states that I do not live in. So instead of like a Mass Live or Boston Globe notification about, hey, there's auroras visible tonight, I got the NewJersey.com notification that they will be visible in New Jersey. So I have not checked yet because I was setting up the stream and stuff, but maybe I will also see auroras tonight. Maybe I'll go out after the stream. I am with you though on can't be bothered to figure out camera settings. Although I will say the one time I've seen them from my house here, I just took a picture on my iPhone and it looked so much more impressive than real life. Like real life was cool and you got that sort of like magical, sublime sense of wow, what nature can do and how lucky are we to see this. But then I took a picture and it looked so much more otherworldly on my iPhone camera than it had in real life. It took us a while to be like, is this what we're seeing? Oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of faint, but like this is definitely what we're seeing. And then on my phone, it just looked amazing. Okay, Sarah has completed 3 graduation caps, working on the 4th out of 10. 10 is a very, like, manageable amount. I mean, that's still so many, but, you know, class sizes can be, like, 25. So I'm glad you only have to do 10. I am north of New Jersey, which makes me feel like I should more so be able to see them, but it's not like a straight line ever, so I might actually be out of the path. I'm trying to think of where Dublin is relative to New England. Oh, but you do mean iPhone camera settings. Well, good news for you, Irish, is maybe you don't need to set anything, because I just had everything on the usual auto, I think, and I don't even have a new phone. I'm rocking the iPhone 13 mini. I refuse to get a bigger phone, although my phone is starting to revolt. I might have to make a decision about what I'm doing with my phone. I probably still have a good year or two, but that's less time than I wanted with this phone. 2 years is probably optimistic. I don't think I have that long. Hi, Melby. Welcome in, welcome in. Love the horseshoe. I was trying to remember our whole lore about the horseshoe emote. I know it had to do with, like, witches, and I know that we decided it was, like, our symbol of, like, queer safe space. But I don't fully remember our connecting line. Because there was something about horseshoes in some era were used to fend off witches. And we were all like, I don't know, we want to attract witches. That sounds cool. And then somehow we got to horseshoes are going to be our symbol for this being a safe space. If anyone remembers the lore that we came up with for that, let me know. Because I was trying to remember, and I forgot. Yes, Dublin, Ireland, in case anyone was thinking Dublin, Texas, where Dr. Pepper comes from. Yeah, there is at least Dublin, Texas. There's probably more Dublins in the US, but being from Texas, that's the one I'm familiar with. Yeah, Melby, the full through line is what I'm not remembering. No. Yeah, Sarah, I like your point. That makes it like true lore because no one really remembers how it started. There you go. We've created that already. All right, I'm going to get started on our warm-up cross-stitch here. Gonna start with the top and bottom of the spool using some DMC 829. It's always the color of the tops and bottoms of spools. And once I get this back on the bobbin, I'll drop a thing in the chat for folks who are new and are like, what is this? The title of this says you're doing Wingspan stuff. That doesn't look like Wingspan. This is our warm-up project that I do every week. And exciting news. The last, gosh, how many? It's been a while, over a month, like all of Christmas and the New Year. We've been doing 817 because we've had between 0 and 5 new followers from week to week, which is absolutely fine. But this week had 6 new followers to this channel, so we get to go back to 720, the orangey pumpkin spice one. I also just dropped scissors on my foot. I gotta grab those. So thank you to the 6 folks who followed in the past week. I think about half of those were during the stream last week. So if some of you are back here this week, welcome in again. Good to see you. Thank you for, contributing to the channel, but also helping contribute to our little warm-up design here. I'm just doing one in between. Okay, there we go. And yeah, camera not as zoomed in again this week. Been working on different setups, like I was saying last time. I wonder if I can at least, maybe I'll move this out a little bit more this way, because this seems to be naturally where I'm holding it. But yeah, I've got like a new tripod arm so the camera can go fully above and is not taking up so much real estate in the shot of this camera. Excuse me. However, that has meant that the camera is significantly further away and can't zoom in as much. So I'm working on that. I've got some zoom lenses that I tried those out, and it led to a really, really great quality on the stitching cloth or whatever I happen to be doing with my hands here. It looked great. However, the zoom lenses were a bit too heavy for the tripod arm, and so it was kind of like sinking down. And the zoom lenses, if you're familiar with photography and zoom lenses and stuff at all, they're quite long. So they were also like coming into the shot, and then I would have to put them so high that it almost negated their zoom effect. So gotta work that out. But one thing that I'm excited about is I finally ordered an embroidery stand. I've thought about it for a long time, but I had a like Christmas gift card, and so I finally picked one out, which actually was not as arduous a process as I expected it to be. I kind of immediately found one that I was like, wait, this is perfect. This is exactly what I'm looking for. So that should be here before next week's stream, and that I will be able to like set it here on my desk. What I've done in the past when I've had this on a stand, so what you have not seen, but what you've seen of like this being steady and me not holding it, is I just have like a clip that goes onto a lighting stand for like my camera equipment. And I put that on the top of a lighting stand, and I put that kind of in the corner of my L-shaped desk. It's sort of like between my legs. But because that is not on the desk, it is over further. When I'm doing the camera up here, it doesn't reach all the way to that. It's not long enough. So I was like, I need something on the desk, which will actually streamline my whole setup anyways. But that little clip on the lighting stand, I couldn't like DIY it onto anything else. So I was like, I think it's time to finally get an embroidery stand. That little clip was something that I got a while ago when I was like, I don't want to invest in an embroidery stand yet. Like, I want to keep going with whatever I can DIY for a while and like make sure that I enjoy like both cross-stitching and streaming. But I've been doing it for a bit, and I think I'm into it, and I had that gift card, so I decided to do it. So it's a cool little stand that like, it's very versatile, and it can be put both on a tabletop or in your lap where you kind of like sit on it. But I think that'll bring this up a little bit higher. So like, at least that would be closer. So, you know, as always, baby steps from week to week as I figure out different ways to optimize what I'm doing over here. Let me catch up on the chat. I've just been yapping away over here. Oh wait, so Dor says, my dad used to joke my mom was a witch, so he hung horseshoes on his shed so she wouldn't see the mess. Okay, great. But I do love the validation there that the horseshoes keeping away witches was really a thing. It was something I had heard from a historian. I just like hadn't heard it prior to that moment, so I was a little uncertain. That's very funny. Very funny antics from your parents, though. Okay, let's see. Irish Disney Nerd did a good bit of apartment cleaning. Finally got my head into editing your novel. Nice. And didn't even open TikTok until 5:30. That's probably part of how you got so much done. But very well done. I did not have as much of a productive day today, but I had a super productive past couple of days. So I think I needed a day to kind of rest from all of that. What did I do down here? I've got some kind of wild knot situation happening. I'm gonna try to figure this out. I think it's like something where I sort of had a knot, and then I maybe stitched over it a little bit. We're gonna backtrack a little bit to try to figure this out, if I can. I just have to take this off, take the needle off, just kind of pull at things until something happens. don't... Sometimes I'm just like, whatever, I'm gonna leave this here and just let it be. But there are also times when, with this particular pattern, because I come back to it week to week, it gets a little annoying if I've left messes for myself. I'd like to try to clean it up. I'm not entirely sure what's happening here. This might be too small of a knot to handle. Okay, while I try to work on this, I'm also going to catch up with some of the things that everyone's working on, so we can shout out what folks are working on during the stream tonight. Dora's crocheting the mouth for the Audrey 2 puppet. I forgot about that. I love Little Shop of Horrors, so I'm very excited about that project. Glad you're getting back to it. Lauren is working on a sweater as a warm-up, and then need to go make soup, even though you'd rather keep knitting. Isn't that always the problem? My problem today was I just wanted to keep reading all day, even though I had stuff I should have been doing. Ooh, okay, making progress on this knot. That was good. Not entirely sure what I just did, but that felt like the right move. Yeah, instead of like cooking and cleaning, I was like, but read? What if I keep reading? I just started reading 11/22/63 by Stephen King. Oh, I'm seeing... Did this not start at the very beginning? A very good place to start. Oh. Oh, that is so satisfying. But then where did it go? Let's see. This is nuts. Interesting. Okay. This is a kind of knot I have not dealt with before, I guess. It's a very curious kind. Okay, I think, well, that would take so much. I was like, I might just need to go back a lot. But that would be annoying. But that might be where we're at. I think that might be where we're at. Okay, so... let's see. Meow is doing some coloring today. Mikey is working on the cowl. Going well, but slowly. I feel like something like that is probably fairly complicated in getting the shape right. And I guess depending on like what size yarn you're using and stuff. But I can see how that would go slowly but steadily. Joe's restarting a Black Cat project on 18 count Ada instead of 14, with the hopes it'll be small and cute. I like that. I enjoy personally using 16 or 18 count sometimes. I think this is 14 right here. There's a chance it's 16. So I am with you on the like trying to restart it to make it smaller thing, but also just like how far into it were you? Because the idea of restarting a project on different cloth is wild to me and feels like something I would be too lazy to do. So I'm intrigued by your decision there. Let's see. Oh, okay, so avoiding TikTok from Irish Disney Nerd. This is good productivity tips. Set myself a challenge, first just not to open it till after breakfast, and then until I got a good chunk of work done, and then it became, how long can I last? I I really like that kind of, I think it's gone. I fixed it. I fixed the knot. Okay. Now we can go back onto the breach. Do this again. What a relief. Got rid of the knot. Let's not make another one. Ha. Let's not make another one. But yeah, I like the like productivity or motivation thing where you sort of tell yourself, okay, just do this, like some very small manageable thing, or like only do something like for a small amount of time, and then once you've started it, you often have the motivation to keep going, or like the energy. Like sometimes starting was the hardest thing, so if you told yourself like I've got to work on this for 2 hours, it's going to be so hard to motivate yourself to do it. But if you're like, you know what if I just do like 10 minutes of whatever this thing is? And then often by the time 10 minutes rolls around, you're kind of in it and you're like ready to go. So that sounds maybe a little bit the opposite of what you did with TikTok today, but like, or not, like you were getting the work done. So well done to you. I think that's great. Um, okay, Lauren also had a big reading day on Friday. Oh, Door's tracking how many words I've read per 5 days. Okay, Door, I am very curious how you are tracking your words. You made a spreadsheet, but like, how are you counting the words? Because I started using a tracker several years ago. So I'm just starting some more music because that playlist ended. Um, I started using a tracker a few years ago to track like pages and minutes read per day, because like I read across so many different genres, some of which go by really quickly and some that go by more slowly. I don't know, I just sort of wanted to have a sense of like how many pages am I reading per day. But the pages are not that accurate, because it could take me 10 minutes to read 2 pages in a really dense history book versus, in 10 minutes I could read like 12 15 pages of a YA novel or something, right? So words would maybe be a better assessment of how much I am actually reading each day. So I'm curious how you're doing that. But going back to projects people are working on, Melby is transferring the design to the print block so I can start to carve this giant stamp. Oh, right, the stamps. That's very cool. Yes. Can you tie a knot? I cannot. So you cannot. Yeah. Who's on first? Okay, Joe was 2 out of 9 cats in on the black cat design. So that's not too bad. And if you didn't like it, good to start over. Thank you for the emote celebrations. I assume that was when I finished the knot. Oh, Door, you read on a website that tells you the word count. Okay. Yeah, I read a lot of physical books, so I don't think that would work. Melby's been enjoying Storygraph, reading so much more when I have something to track. Yeah, I haven't gotten on Storygraph, and I probably won't. I kind of got off of Goodreads once I had built my own kind of personal database in Notion. So in terms of especially tracking books I own and books that I want to read, and a little bit like my currently reading, I kind of do all of that in Notion now. So I don't have the need for a Goodreads alternative in that way. And then, excuse me, I use Bookly, Bookly, to track my reading. When I said I like track how many minutes I've read or how many pages I've read. And the reason I use that instead of Storygraph, I don't remember all the details of what all Storygraph has in terms of features, but several years ago when I looked into comparing products, I picked Bookly because I can track it on my watch and it syncs with my phone. So like if I try to not have my phone on me sometimes when I'm at home, or I don't know, sometimes it's just in a inconvenient place, like when I used to read on the subway and my phone would be like in a pocket that I couldn't reach because other people are right up against me, but I can reach my wrist and I can like press start when I start reading and stop when I stop reading and say how many pages I read. And I like tracking all of that just because I'm interested in tracking my own data, but it's also cool because it will give you an estimate of how long it will take you to finish reading that particular book, which was very valuable to me back when I was in college. This was a very long time ago, and I think there was some other app that I used then that has not been around for a decade. But yeah, when I had reading assignments, that was very valuable to have a better sense of how long it took me to read things and like how long it would take me to finish. So that's my Storygraph Bookly Notion thing. Storygraph is definitely superior to Goodreads just because Goodreads, I believe, is owned by Amazon, right? I know we're on Twitch right now, so that's a tough thing to say with Twitch being owned by Amazon as well. I try not to have my phone on you. Yeah, give me a not KNOT over my phone any day. I don't know if I actually feel that way. I could Google the word count of the book. That is true, Door. However, I feel like what I am more interested in is like day-to-day reading sessions, knowing how many words I've read. I think I'm less interested in knowing that like at the end of a book. But I do think it is interesting to know how many words are in a book. That was something I didn't fully understand until I was like, or just didn't have a good like sense of until I was like writing my own book and learning more about the average word counts for different types of books, like for different ages and different genres. I forgot how many words my book was. I want to say it was definitely in the like 75,000 range. It might have ended up at like 87,000, but I feel like at some point it was at about 69, and I was very excited by it being at 69,000. I thought that'd be nice. Sarah, don't forget, in an hour and a half, you have to go to a workout class. I'm glad that you're still going. Is it a weekly thing, or have you been since last Monday, if you care to talk about it? Ad break. Yes, sorry about that. One, two, three, four. Okay, I've done 10 stitches today. I'm trying to get in the habit of updating the counter when there's an ad break, just to have a little housekeeping thing to do during the ads. Melby, yes. I don't think I've super thought about that because I think I wasn't reading fanfic as much by the time I started learning more about book word counts. But actually, that's a good point because I feel like, 100,000 plus fanfic is like pretty common, but a 100,000 page book is on the longer side. I think that's getting, I don't know, around 400 pages at that point, probably. Oh, nice, Sarah, that you've tried some other ones, but this is the same as last week. Well, I hope it goes well. I'm realizing now I don't know if we got an update before. Or is this the third time? I forget, but I hope that it's going well for you. The fact that you're going again seems like it is. Thank you, Dor, and thank you everyone who sat through the ads. Thanks for supporting the channel by sitting through those. Sorry I forgot to give a heads up on it and was in the middle of yapping in the middle of the ad break, but welcome back. Thank you, thank you. I was chatting just a little bit about book word count length versus fanfic length. And yeah, 100,000 seems to be a pretty solid average for fanfic. And yet that is a long book. And Dora, I saw your message about being bad at putting down a story. When you start it, you have to finish it. I think I am close to that way with fiction. That's why I was like having trouble doing anything else today, because I was reading a fiction book. but I'm better at putting down nonfiction, which I feel like a lot of people probably are. So I don't know, and I read maybe about half and half. Sometimes I read maybe actually veer more nonfiction than fiction. Um, so yeah, I guess it's not as much of an issue for me to get all consumed by a book when I'm reading nonfiction. That is a good point about fanfic. Either less than 5,000 or over 100,000 in between is rare. Yeah. Oh, I just did this little spool so fast comparatively after having all that trouble with the knot. But there we go. We got back in the orange for 6 new followers since last week. So thank you all again who followed, some of you during last week's stream, some of you in between. Welcome to all of you, if any of you are here right now. And thanks to all of you who have followed in the past or subscribed. We have this shelf up here, which indicates subscribers. And the next resub or sub that we get to start the next line of shelf. So that'll be very fun. But now, with the warm-up shelf almost done here, can move on to the main event of the day, which is going to be some custom Wingspan organizers. So I don't know. Oh, Lauren has to go make soup because you were lining up your warm-up with my warm-up. I like that. That was clever. But I'm sorry that you have to go make soup now. What kind of soup are you making? You did say you were knitting as a warm-up. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people who are in the like Eastern and Central time zone in the US do the opposite of that, of like the start of the stream. So many people are making dinner or eating dinner and then switch over into crafting. Irish Disney Nerd, anything past 50k is huge. 65 is amazing. Yeah, I think I was trying... Okay, this is helpful as I've been trying to remember word counts. Okay, I feel like 50,000... I mean, that's what NaNoWriMo used to be, right? The idea was, right, you would write 50,000 words of a first draft in November. And yeah, because I think that's like a typical... That's like a shorter novel or maybe a YA novel would be like 50,000. And then, yeah, some get up there, but 100,000 for a book is so long. So 50,000 is amazing. Congratulations on that. And you said you're editing it now, right? So echoing Door's question of if you're planning on publishing, which I feel like you've maybe talked about a little bit. So sorry if I don't remember. Meow's my love language. Yes, I was about to explain. I should have brought visual aids. Wingspan is a tabletop game, I think, is the category of it. But it's a very popular game. It really blew up a handful of years ago because it has extremely beautiful artwork. There were also a lot of think pieces written about... I shouldn't be like shaking my head because the think pieces were valid in a way. I think they just got overdone. But it was a tabletop game that became very popular with women and probably largely with queer people too. But like, as you might imagine, or are familiar with yourself, like tabletop gaming spaces can be like very male dominated, and not always welcoming to people who are not men. And this was a game that sort of like broke through that a little bit. And it became something that I think like more women gamers or women like tabletop gamers felt... I think it was maybe an entry point for a lot who had felt not welcome in that space before and therefore had not explored games too much. And then maybe just felt one they could take more ownership over. That was what a lot of the think pieces were back in the day. And I think that's legit because I think that's a thing that we should talk about is like when spaces are not welcoming to people. And I think we should definitely celebrate anything that helps make spaces more welcoming. But also it just feels like a stale conversation at this point. So I'm like, whatever. I feel like the game just lives on its own now and people of all genders love the game. But in the game you are Birds That Wing Big. It's also a game I've seen. Oh, look, that's This Bird type books by the same name. Um, yeah, Wingspan is all about birds, and it's an engine building game. And I don't know enough about tabletop games to explain it too much better. So maybe someone else in the chat can explain it. But you're kind of like collecting birds and building habitats for them and like collecting food for the birds, and all of the cards are like real birds, so they're like actual birds in nature, and there's little facts about them on there. So it's very fun. I think it probably contributed a little bit to the sharp rise in birding as a hobby. So that's what Wingspan is. I'm also just checking out a little bit of the chat about Irish Disney Nerd, hoping to get a literary agent and then some publishers. Yeah, self-publishing is a lot of work. I don't think Tom is here tonight, but I think Tom has maybe done both. So he could definitely tell you that self-publishing is a lot of work. There's a lot of pros and cons to both. But I very much respect. I mean, I respect the choice anyone makes on either side. But yeah. And yeah, I echo Door. Let us know when it is published. Yes, that is the best that I could play Wingspan. Your teacher told you not to play it because one type of bird was the wrong color, and he was very upset about it. I mean, yeah, that that sounds like a professor thing. It just reminded me that I got really upset today at 11/22/63, the Stephen King book that I am reading, which, by the way, I don't know if anyone has read. There's a Netflix adaptation that came out, I think, like 10 years ago, but I think Netflix just got it in the US. So Netflix just kept showing me ads and being like, we think you would like this. And I was like, yeah, I probably would. A lot of people over the years have told me I would like this book because it's about time travel, and I love time travel, and it's like mid-century US history, which I also love. But I was like, Netflix, you keep telling me to watch this every time I turn on my TV, and I'm not going to do it until I've read the book, even though the book, speaking of long books, this book is like, some editions of it are 1,000 pages long. The one that I have is like just under 900, but it is a very long book. But people keep saying like it goes really fast because it's a page turner. Stephen King's books are always page turners. And so anyways, I'm really enjoying this book. Like Door, I'm getting totally lost in the story and not wanting to put it down now that I've started the story. But there was a thing today that I realized was anachronistic, and it's been bugging me. So your professor being upset that one type of bird was the wrong color, I'm identifying with that right now. Because there's so much history in this book that like I don't actually know. But there was one thing, and I was curious about it. I didn't know off the top of my head, but I had to look it up, and then when I looked it up, I was a little disappointed. And basically, there's just like, so this guy time travels back to the 1950s, and so he's given 1950s money before he makes the trip, and he's looking at a $20 bill, which here in the US has Andrew Jackson on it. Controversial thing, was supposed to be replaced by Harriet Tubman, and then Trump came into office the first time, and that like legislation has just not happened anymore. Anyways, former president, 19th century US president Andrew Jackson is on the $20 bill. But in the book, he's given this 1950s money, and Grover Cleveland is on the $20 bill. And I was like, I thought that Andrew Jackson had been on the $20 bill longer than the 50s, and I was really curious like what led to that change, especially because Andrew Jackson has always been kind of a contentious figure, so like who made that decision? And so I went to look it up a little bit, and Andrew Jackson replaced Grover Cleveland on the $20 bill in 1928, which is 30 years before this book takes, like, he goes back in time to 1958. And he's looking at money that should have been good in 1958 that has Grover Cleveland on it, but Grover Cleveland had not been on that $20 bill for 30 years. And I guess some of them still would have been in circulation, but I just got really annoyed once I learned that. I was like, this is such a small, inconsequential thing to get wrong. And so it's not turning me off of the whole book the way that your Professor Door would have, like, will not play Wingspan and will tell his students not to play Wingspan because one type of bird is wrong. But Yeah, no, you're right. At least it wasn't the opposite. And Joe, yes, maybe they could still be in circulation. That's what I was trying to think about of like, okay, 30-year-old money maybe could still be in circulation. I did a little bit of coin collecting when I was a kid, and so that would have been in the 90s. And I feel like I found coins from the 60s fairly often. And so, yeah, maybe some of these bills were still in circulation. But I just feel like if you're making this whole point that someone different was on the bill, shouldn't it have been a newer update or something? Yeah, also bills don't feel like they're in circulation as long as coins. That's a great point, Sarah. Yeah. Anyways, that was my rant about it. And Dor, your professor being upset about the one bird just reminded me. But speaking of, so Lauren got a fake quarter at the laundromat the other day. Maybe? Huh. I mean, is it a state quarter? I'd be very curious to see more, to see this quarter or hear more about it. I loved collecting the state quarters when that was a thing. That was so fun for a while there. But that is also a plot point in this book, or not a plot point, but a thing that happens in this book is he almost uses a 2011 dime in a payphone machine, and then he's like, wow, if that had gotten stuck in there and then someone found it, like someone in 1958 finding a 2011 coin, what would they have done? Like, what would your reaction be if you found a coin that was printed for 50 years in the future? The old 1 pound coins can still be exchanged at the bank, but the old 5 pound notes can't. Oh, that's really interesting. They have... I never even thought about, like, circulation timelines being mandated. To me, it's just a matter of, like, the item itself falls apart. Like, you know, a bill disintegrates or something. The quarter has a Russian ballet dancer on the back. Yeah, I can't think of what US state that would be from. Huh. Yeah, send me pics. I'm curious. In the US, Sarah says, sometimes we get Canadian coins as change. Are there any Canadians here who can say if they sometimes accidentally get given US coins as change at a store? Yeah, I'd be curious about that. I do have a few Canadian coins that have happened from that, where you accidentally get those. My favorite coin story, and then I'll start on Wingspan. I'm just like chatting. I need to change my Twitch category to just chatting. But I studied abroad in the Netherlands when I was like 19 and 20, and they had already gotten rid of pennies. So you don't really have pennies in the Netherlands. And I took a day trip to Belgium, and I was in like a chocolate shop or something. I bought some chocolate. It's what you do if you're in Belgium for an afternoon. And I went up to pay, and the cashier was like really annoyed, and he was just like, do you not have exact change? And because the amount was like $2.67 or €2.67, whatever. And I was just like, no, I literally have not had a penny in my possession all year. Like, I cannot make change for you because I've been living somewhere where there are no pennies, and it is adjacent to your nation, so surely this is not the first time you've encountered this problem. Now that I think of it, I had a lot of weird encounters in Belgium. I mean, maybe it was me, but I need to go back to Belgium and see what happens again. This was 15 years ago. More than that? I don't even know. 16 years ago, I think. Dor gets Scottish notes when they go to Yorkshire. Yorkshire. That's the Boston version. Yorkshire. I'm from Yorkshire. Yorkshire, yes. I don't think I fully knew that Scottish notes were different. Interesting. Sarah, yeah, maybe he's just fed up because it does happen so often. That could totally be a thing. Yeah, totally. I'll have to see if I encounter more Canadian pennies now that I'm living closer to Canada. Last time I checked, I think I'm under 3 hours away from Canada. Not from like anywhere particularly exciting in Canada, but if I just wanted to go to the border, I'm quite close. Something weird, I was in Edinburgh last year, a moment I went to pay at a coffee shop and the barista refused to take an English note as payment. Some great patriotism there. Okay, so Wingspan. I described vaguely what it is. You have bird cards, you're building habitats, and so you've got like a little mat with all the things on it that you to keep track of what you're doing. And there are some, I really should have brought the box down, but I'd have to leave and get a step stool, and it's a whole thing. But you've got like little eggs, little like wooden eggs for your birds, and you've got like food tokens that are these small little cardboard things with like a worm or a rat or a piece of wheat or a fish and like different food on them. And then you also have like tokens for bonuses and challenges and stuff like that. So there's a lot of little pieces, and the game itself just comes with like plastic containers, or maybe not even, like little plastic bags. And so I am designing, or I did design, and I am making some custom containers. There's a lot of like Etsy sellers, and I think even the official Stonemaier, the manufacturers of the game, have all kinds of different organizers. There's a Wingspan subreddit, and people are always sharing like what they've 3D printed or what they bought from someone, because it's one of those games, like a lot of tabletop games, people get really into it, and they really want to customize and like make everything look really nice. So I was a little inspired by that. I looked at a lot of different ones, and then I also assessed my own skills and resources. And so the first thing I'm doing is I've got this little like canvas bag, and this is going to be for the eggs. And what I'm doing is I'm using waste canvas, and this is the main Wingspan kind of logo. So this is a pattern that I bought, which I should have pulled up who it was by. I got it on Etsy. Could look in a minute. But if you've played Wingspan, or if you've seen the game before, this will be pretty recognizable. It's like the cover of the game. And there's going to be some background colors as well that make it look even more like the main box of the game. So that I'm using this waste canvas, so this will all dissolve in water and go away, and it'll look like I just stitched this bird, I forgot what kind of bird it is, directly onto the little bag, and that's where the eggs will go. And then I have a bunch of these other little bags, and I was gonna try to do different birds on them because I found some patterns for like 2" by 2" birds. But stitching on a bag is really tough. Oh, this is the scissor tail flycatcher. Thank you, Lauren. Stitching on a bag is really tough because unless you want to like cut it open and re-sew it, which I could, but I have decided not to thus far, you just have to kind of, I like stitch in hand, and you don't ever go behind because, oh, I have like some kind of knots happening there. Where is this? What is this? Oh, that's where I left off. Great. Really well done. I haven't worked on this in like several weeks. But yeah, you have to stitch in hand because it's like really annoying to try to like grab all the way in the bag, especially once you get down here. So it's challenging, and I think it would be even more challenging on these little bags. And again, I could like break these seams and then re-sew it, and maybe I will, but I feel like they're pretty well made, and I would not sew them back up with like such a nice round thing. So what I might just do instead is just stitch the words of what each of these is for, like which game piece each one is for. So that's what I'm doing with those. But for the food tokens, which again are just these little like cardboard discs with the symbol of each food on them, I have made these little nests. So I used plastic canvas, and I stitched them together to make these little trays, and then I designed each of these to look just like the game pieces. So this is the wheat. It's actually one of my worst designs. And then this is the nectar, if anyone is familiar with the game. And I have designed, there's 6 total tokens if you have the version with nectar. And I've designed them slightly smaller, so 3 of them are this bigger size, and 3 of them are this smaller size, so that they can go like that. So when you put them in the box, like the plastic ones that come with the game are kind of like that, so you can kind of stack them so that they all fit in the game box. So that is what I am doing. And I have, I'm trying to think of if I should show, but I designed for the fish, the rat, the worm, and the cherries, as well as these. But these are the only two that I have actually made the structures of. I have all of these that I've cut out, and so I will have to stitch these together. It's like cherries. Oh, that's a to-do list of thank you cards to send and stuff. Yeah, so I think, I mean, we're gonna start with finishing up this tonight, and then might get to the point of building another one of these. But this is what I've been working on. This was a Christmas gift that I did not finish, and so my partner and I gave each other ideas as gifts because we had not quite finished some of our crafts for each other. So we gave each other bags filled with half-filled crafts and have been slowly working to eventually finish them for each other. So let's see. I guess I can get this out of the way now. And this, well, probably it'll come up. I also decided, I've got some loose stitches that I'm gonna have to deal with. So I started with this one, and originally was just doing normal cross stitches along the side. And then I did the math on how many stitches that would be to make 6 of these. Similar to the 10 graduation caps. When you're making that many, you've got to really think about how big the product is going to be. Yeah, and I was like, this might not be sustainable. So then I switched to doing this, which I really like, and I was inspired by, was it a tissue box or coasters? Some coasters that my grandmother made, that I inherited, and she did this kind of thing on them. So I decided to do that, and on this one, to keep it even, I did sort of like 2 sides like that and 2 sides like that. But going forward, they will all have this. And I don't know if there's a name for this kind of stitching, but that's what I did. Good night, Irish Disney nerd. Have a good night. I hope you have another nice day of some writing and not too much TikTok, unless you want to. Have a good night. Get some sleep. And yeah, thank you, Mikey. Thanks for saying they're amazing. Yeah, it's meant to kind of look like a bird's nest, which is how I'm excusing any like things that are not so neat or any little pieces like sticking out. But yeah, woven basket also kind of works. So thanks for saying that. I should stop showing this one where I have a loose stitch that I have to fix. But yeah, that's kind of it. And then the other thing is that I have been using blended thread. Can I make this in focus anymore? Maybe not. Oddly enough. I've been using 3 strands of different colors and then folding it over. So I'm stitching on 6 strands here to sort of fill up the plastic canvas bit all the way. I looked up something online where someone sort of recommended how many strands per size of plastic canvas, which theoretically should relate to like an Ada count size, but I bought some cheap kind at Michael's that apparently doesn't. It's roughly like a 10 count, like 10 stitches per inch, but I think it's less. Or it's not exact, like it wasn't really meant to be. So I decided to use 6, which I think has been working. And this is, I feel like, really overexposed. We'll try to turn the light down a little bit, if that helps. This bright pink of the nectar is really coming out. Okay, I gotta find all my floss. So, like I said, I'm doing 3. And it is 938, 869, and 801, and combining them gives me the kind of like what I think is this kind of cool texture. It doesn't show up quite as well on camera, but like you can kind of see like each stitch has maybe a little bit of a gradient to it. Yeah, I don't know, I like the effect that it has, but working with blended flosses can be quite annoying. I don't know why I'm struggling. Oh, there we go. I think my camera woke up. Hearing 9:38 did make you panic for a second because you're making supper. Oh, did you think the time was 9:38? And you're like, oh no, it's way too late for dinner? Yep. Blended floss totally can tangle more easily. Yeah, that's 100% a thing. It can be super frustrating to work with, but the effect is really nice. So, continuing to do it. Okay, I'll just put both of these in shot. 801, 801. Oh, I gotta check that I have the right 801. I think it's this one. I accidentally have 2 bobbins for 801. I think we got an ad starting soon, if it is not already. But one of these is already cut to the right size. So let me get this off first. So if anyone who cross stitches has not worked with blended floss before, first thing you do is you don't drop your bobbin. Where'd it go? Okay, I got it. You sometimes have to do a little bit of weird math because you got to figure out like how many strands you are stitching over. If you're stitching over 2, which is the most common, and you're using 2 different colors, then you get 1 strand of each. That's pretty easy. But you do need to keep them roughly the same length. And mine have not kept pace with each other very well. So it's been a little bit of a headache, a little bit of a mess. At least bobbins should be easier to find than needles. True. I think I found another needle today that I was like, where did this come from? I thought that I had been doing so good at picking them up as soon as I dropped them. But yeah, I definitely found a needle today that I didn't expect to find. Ugh. I almost spilled my beverage. I did find the needle with my eyes and not my foot. Yes. I've never really had an issue with stepping on or sitting on needles or anything. Oh, and as the ads are going, I will update. So all we've done so far is the warm-up counter, warm-up pattern. I'm going to get that to 19, which is exactly how many stitches are in the warm-up pattern. Bam. Okay, so I've got my 3 different colors. Gotta line them all up. Nope. Did I drop one? No, I'm good. Okay, try to get them as close to each other as I can. Hello, welcome back from the ads, folks who were gone for the ads. Thanks for sticking through those. Oh, and supporting the channel. Yep, thanks for sticking around and coming back, Door. Okay. Getting these blended threads ready. And then I'm just gonna trim them to all really be the same length. Speaking of needles, let's use that needle. True story of finding an unknown lost needle reminded me a few years ago a friend came to visit me, and not long after they arrived, my cat was playing with a cat toy I'd never seen before. And a few hours after the friend left, it was lost. It was found again by my cat next time they visited, but has not been seen since. Wow. That is a magical toy. It only appears when your friend is there, apparently. Mo Vicious, thank you for the follow. Thank you so much for the follow. You'll be reflected in next week's spool shelf. And Ace, welcome in. Tonight I am stitching these custom containers for Wingspan, which is a tabletop game with lots of pieces, and many people design or buy from other people who designed them custom containers for them. And so I have been working on these ones. I designed these myself, so I don't have like a pattern credit to share. And I've just made them out of plastic canvas. And this is the beginning of stitching them for tonight because I took a long time to explain them, and I also took a long time to talk about mid-century American currency. So here we are. Because I knew I needed to explain these before I started them. And so I didn't want to just start stitching while I was in the middle of a different rant. The pattern credit is Jack is not a bird. That is true. They contain a lot of the different pieces from the Wingspan game. And so specifically, these little ones I'm working on here are for the food tokens. You collect food for the birds that you collect. Wingspan is all about different birds that you're like collecting. And they're these little cardboard tokens, and they all have a different symbol on them representing the type of food. And so I looked at those tokens and used Floss Cross to kind of eyeball in a kind of pixel art kind of way an approximation of each of the symbols. And so these will be like categorized. They'll all go, the nectar food tokens will go in this nectar box, and the wheat food tokens will go in that wheat one. And it'll be a very over the top organized Wingspan box. Ghost cats doing spooky things. Ace, are you working on any kind of projects tonight, or are you doing are you modding different streams? Or nothing at all, just chilling. Maybe just chilling. Oh, and here is a thing, is I'm totally gonna fall behind on the stitch counter now, because I often will just look at the like iPad app that I use to track things, but I'm not using that for this part of this pattern because I know what I'm doing. I'm just doing a lot of this brown, filling up the nest, which has been really nice to like cross stitch without having to look at a pattern, without having to have a tablet out. But in terms of keeping an accurate count on stream, that is one downside. Ranger Beef, thanks for the follow. Also, hi. I remember your username from way back in the day. Pre-Will It Waffle, which not a lot of people can say. So, hey, I hope you're doing well. How are things going? If you want to share, or if you just want to lurk, that's cool too. Ace is chilling, wants to work on a drawing. Ooh, nice. I don't really draw too much. I've never been super great at it, but I do enjoy it. Let's see. My Wingspan box won't be as organized as Dora's aunt's box for Ticket to Ride. Everything is in its own neat little tub, and she had extra pieces 3D printed so more people could play at the same time. Oh man, that's what we needed with all my cousins. I have a lot of cousins, and we loved playing games together. And that, if my grandmother were like of another era where she knew about 3D printing, I feel like that is absolutely something she would have done. Ranger Beef, glad to hear things are going well. Sarah's pretty impressive at stick figures. I feel like your username is pretty memorable. um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like also, you know, I remember there were very few folks who were regular viewers of things that I was doing over a decade ago. So sometimes that stuff sticks with you, and I really appreciate all of your kind comments back in the day, and I appreciate you popping in tonight. Ace has a friend with a 3D printer. First of all, cool. He used it to make a couple of props for our Lightning Thief production. Oh, yeah, making props with a 3D printer. Like, that sounds so obvious when you say it, but it hadn't quite occurred to me as a thing before. Your aunt goes to a board game club. That's great. They trade games, and you get to play them Saturday evening. Yeah, if she goes to a board game club, then like having a really organized Ticket to Ride and having 3D printed more play pieces, like that's not surprising. That's sort of how I felt with having these organizers for Wingspan, is like people who are really into Wingspan, this is definitely a thing that they do. Yeah. Not that they all cross stitch their containers. I just mean people 3D print them, or they buy them from the manufacturer or from other people. Your aunt's autistic interest is board games. That tracks. That's a pretty good one. Melby doesn't even remember their old username. Yeah, fair. Oh, Dor, I think your partner told us that your interest was fire extinguishers, and my response was, that is such a good, like, hyper fixation to have. What a safe interest. You're gonna save the day one day. What is the crossover between cross-stitchers and Wingspan players? That is a great question, Sarah, and I would be curious about that. Because I feel like it could be pretty high. I do not currently... Like, I don't personally know of any people who do both. But I think my sample size of Wingspan players is pretty small. And my sample size of cross-stitchers in like, my IRL life. But I feel like it's similar vibes. So I feel like it should be a lot of people. Maybe if we find out that it's a lot of people, I will improve these designs and, like, put them up as a pattern for people. But I don't think they're... I think they're still very much a work in progress at the moment. These are like prototypes. Oh, 3D printed the trident and the lightning bolt for the lightning thief. I mean, that's cool. I had a toy lightning bolt as a kid in elementary school. It was like this double-sided lightning bolt, and you pressed a button, it lit up and made thunder sounds. It was very, very cool. I think I was like a little bit into Zeus at the time. We were doing some Greek mythology stuff in school. And man, I really wanted to use it for my Halloween costume. And I think if I had been a normal kid, I would have been like, I'm gonna be Zeus for Halloween. Instead, I decided to be electricity. And I just wore all black and had a little rubber light bulb that went with my lightning bolt. And I, like, hand drew lightning bolts and light bulbs on pieces of printer paper, or probably even just notebook paper, and taped them to myself. And I thought it was the most clever costume ever. And the bullies did not think so. Ambitious costume, yes, thank you, thank you. I've found my people here. Yeah, well, welcome in, Sarah. Oh, Trickish List. Thank you so much for the follow. And you just helped us get to the 130 follower goal. So thanks for helping. Oh, yeah, there we go. There's a little goal animation. But yeah, Sarah, between my love of lightning bolts and Dora's interest in fire extinguishers, yeah, I think it proves this is a nerdy group to be around at the very least. I want to be a bin bag. I mean, but at 4 years old, like I think 4-year-olds, like that's kind of the one where they get some great ideas, and I love parents who like go all in on it. Like I feel like there's a viral video of that about every year. Like there was that kid who wanted to be a pair of pants. A great Halloween costume, a pair of pants. I was maybe 9, and so there were definitely like, or maybe I was 10. I was like 9 or 10. And all of the other kids were doing much cooler things, either just like really scary, you know, oh my god, what is his name? The Michael Myers. Yeah, like a Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger kind of thing, or like starting to kind of get into the sexy costumes even at age 10. And then I was over here like, I'm electricity. I was a nerd. Okay, where am I trying to go with this stitch? Here we go. Getting into the edge here, which is when I might be able to attempt to fix some of this, but not quite yet. First, this is gonna be a little hard to see on camera. I didn't quite think that through, but here we are. Melby, my favorite Halloween costume ever seen online was a little girl who was a horseshoe crab. I love that. A says, I'm still rocking the nerdiness. Yeah, I think probably most of us are. I definitely am. I'm sitting here cross-stitching containers for a board game, so I would say I am a nerd. Let's see. One of the YouTube parents I watch a lot, and they never show their kids in their video. Also love that. Good stuff. Let their kids say whatever they want for their birthday cake and go to their local baker and say ranch dressing and yellow geckos with superhero masks. That's cool. Wait, I love that. Okay, this is another moment of like so close to could have been my grandma but wasn't. Of my grandma was an amazing cake decorator. Great baker in general, but amazing cake decorator. And would, like, you know, when she was in town for our birthdays, we would get to pick the design of our cakes, but she was just a very traditional kind of woman. So, like, if you had said something like, I want a ranch dressing and yellow geckos with superhero masks birthday cake, she would have been like, no, that's ridiculous. Do you want Mickey Mouse? Like, but I feel like in another world, she would have had the skills where that could have been a thing. Like, we wouldn't have had to go to a baker. She had the skills to do that. Okay, in addition to the pants kid, there was a girl who wanted to be a pink chair. Doors also reminded of a girl who wanted to be an armadillo, and her aunt made a really cool costume in like a week and a half. Armadillo is great. Why didn't more kids dress as armadillos growing up in Texas? What, everybody had to be a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader? No, be an armadillo, you coward. I'm actually shocked I was never an armadillo. That sounds like exactly the kind of costume I would have wanted as a kid in Texas. And he says, on Thursday I went to karaoke, did some drawing while using a game on my 3DS as a reference. Yeah, that sounds pretty nerdy, but also very cool. Tricklish just loves armadillos. Armadillos are great. Lauren is also shocked she wasn't an armadillo. Ranger Beef has a picture buried somewhere when he was still a baby, and Mom made me a Kermit the Frog cake, and the picture is just you covered in green icing. Yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, Dory, you're gonna get the full nostalgia rundown. Oh, this is the wrong one. Putting this back on the wrong bobbin. I also made a knot in it. Look at that. Oh, okay, here we go. Bam. It's the tiniest knot in there still, but I think it'll be fine. 1 year Dorwin as a bucket. That's great. Can't remember if it was a dream or real. Okay. Red Revelry, welcome to the chat. Pic of baby me covered in blue icing, fast asleep, face down in my birthday cake. Yeah, I love those like first birthday pics of babies or like experiences with babies where you kind of just let them go wild with the cake and they just get covered head to toe in icing. Melby, that is a thing I've been meaning to do. It is on the to-do list to have a community space for people to share progress pics. Padlet, I have not heard of. I was just gonna start a Discord, but maybe I will look into. Is Padlet a website? Okay. Last Halloween, Ace Trainer was Detective Pikachu, and oh, thank you for the follow, Red Revelry. Was also Deku from My Hero Academia. Next day went to Comic-Con as Kirby. We are nerd, we are legion. Nice. Lauren's brother smashed cake in a friend's ear at his first birthday. No one lets him forget. I feel like you shouldn't be held responsible for things you did when you were barely 1 year old. Okay, same YouTube family, YouTube parents, because the kids are not on camera, because these YouTube parents sound responsible. But Sarah says they do a week wrap-up of why they're bad parents. And it's things like, I told them they couldn't jump off the roof. I made them spit out the rock they wanted to eat. I like that. Yeah, I've definitely seen things of like, my kid is crying because I told them they couldn't jump off the roof. Yeah, very silly stuff. I think you've got to have that sense of humor as a parent. Okay, Joe, I do want you to be able to show off. Okay, I will try to make this happen sooner rather than later. I keep putting it off, but it would be so fun to see what everyone's working on. I have well, I'll look into Padlet, but if I do Discord, my thought had been that we can have a channel for things that people are okay showing on stream, and I might like maybe not every week, but like sometimes I would end streams by showing off anything that people want to show that they've been working on. But then there'd be another channel that's just like, if you just want to show it to like folks who are also in the Discord, but you don't want me to show it on stream, then you can put it in there. That has been my thought. And I think I've said this before, but this will not be a Discord that really exists for any other reason, because I just do not have it in my capacity right now to be like moderating and facilitating a good community space beyond that, which is why I have like never made a Discord or anything like that in the past. So it will just exist for that sole purpose for now. Oh, thanks, Red Revelry, for saying you like the vibes and the crafts. Yeah, we're doing something a little different craft-wise today as I work on these containers for Wingspan. It's not that different. I do usually cross-stitch, but it's usually more standard cross-stitching. From someone else's pattern, usually, too. Padlet's a website. There's probably more ways you can format it, but I've used it in groups where everyone who gets access can post images with a caption, and it looks kind of like a Pinterest board. And Joe's also used Padlet in the classroom, could see it being an excellent use case for this. Okay, yeah, that's a good, like, since I don't want to do other things that Discord would enable, maybe this would be a good one. Okay, thank you both. I will Actually, I should open a tab of it now so that I don't forget later. Once I wind this bobbin, just gonna open a tab over here. That's cool. All right. Oh, and speaking of the kids and animals crying because of something that they did, Dor shared that there's a picture sat on their mom's lap at their parents' wedding, sobbing because they threw their carrots down the front of her wedding dress. You know, you just felt the appropriate guilt over what you had done. Oh, Lauren says use Padlet when Jamboard went away. Oh, that was sad when Jamboard went away. Okay, we're getting some good votes of confidence for Padlet. Am I saying it correctly, too? Is it Padlet? French? Sometimes the parents are laughing so much they can't speak for a while. Yeah, I mean, it can be hard. I need to do better at it, but I think, like, being able to laugh in those hard moments, I think is such a, like, healthy and good thing to be able to do, to avoid, you know, always feeling angry and having your heart rate rise from that. And, oh, this is, okay, sorry, I just realized I'm using a larger needle than I thought I was, but I should be using this larger needle. Anyways, yeah, being able to laugh at the hard times. And hard times like that, like, you know, stressful, frustrating parenting moments and adulting moments. I'm trying to... Okay, here we go. Yeah, babies and young kids can get freaked out when a parent shaves their face or changes their facial hair for the first time, so that's understandable, Dor. I have not shaved my face, like, for basically ever since it started growing in more on my cheeks, and I think I would cry if I saw myself without facial hair. No, I think it would just be so weird to see. And, like, my dad and brother both usually have beards or some kind of facial hair, and I remember, like, when they would occasionally shave, like even as an adult, when I see them and they are clean shaven, and I'm just like, this is weird. What is happening? Like, their whole face looks different. Their mouths look so different. It's very disconcerting to see someone that you are used to having a certain kind of facial hair no longer have it. Oh, good update from Joe. 18 count Ada is non-negligibly harder than 14, but loving how the design is looking. I actually, you know what? I said I like 18. I'm trying to think of if I have actually ever stitched on 18 count. Oh, heads up, we do have an ad starting in a little under 2 minutes. For folks who are not subscribed, ads will play. Dramatic topic to show up during. Sorry, Limical. But to just go back to the 18 count. So I've done 16, and 16 barely feels different than 14, but I do feel like it looks so nice, so much nicer. So I can imagine the 18 to 14 is giving your pattern the effect that you wanted. However, I just recently ordered some 18 count waist canvas so that I can work on that jean jacket pattern I've been teasing for a while. So might do that on stream soon. And then, Joe, you will get to see how I struggle with 18 count if I do. Okay, we got a lot more facial hair chat. Red Revelry would move out if your dad shaved his face because he's known as guy with big beard. I mean, beards are just so much more popular now than they were like in the 90s or before. And I feel like they've been going strong for so long that I think this is, I don't know, it's going to continue to be a bigger deal. Ace saw a video where the dad came in with the lower half of his face covered in his jacket. Girl got excited, and then he raised his face, and she stops confused. Yeah, that's what I mean. Confuses little kids / people of all ages. Oh, identical twin mix-up. One with a beard and one with not. Yeah. I don't know, I do feel like, especially when you're little and you can't quite figure out what's different, but something looks weird. Like, that's gotta be scary. Especially when it's your parent. Joe, you forgot a middle ground exists between 14 and 18. But, to be fair, you probably would not have gotten as much of a difference that you wanted, since you were saying you wanted the pattern to be, like, smaller. So I think you probably made the right move. I don't think 16 would have changed materially for you. You forgot your dad had a chin when he shaved off his goatee. Fair enough. Yeah, my dad's had a goatee since the 90s, like the late 90s, and before that, he had a mustache. I don't know if I have ever seen my dad clean shaven. And even like pictures of him from late high school, he has a mustache. Oh, ads are starting. Yeah, because he was able to grow facial hair early and then used it to be able to buy beer. So, like, he's just always had facial hair. Alright, I'm gonna try to stick this in somehow. Or maybe if I can come up the other way. This should kind of be here. If I can just stitch it in. Oh, I know what I should do. Okay. I do this. And then... That didn't quite work. I just have this, like, loose piece that I am trying to contain somehow. That... Oh, maybe kind of worked. We'll see. I was told this would be a silent time lapse. Why so much audio jack? Well, first of all, welcome back from the ads, folks who were gone for the ads. And thank you to those who subscribe, both of you supporting the channels in different ways. And thank you, Martu by Martu, for the follow. Thank you for that. Welcome in. Or welcome back. Or however long you've ever been here before. Hello, yeah, welcome to the chat. Oh no, Door found a knot in their wool. Had a lot of knots today. Yeah, Limical, this was supposed to be a silent time-lapse video. No, I put a little video up on Instagram today, like, promoting, that I do these Twitch streams, or Stitch streams, and kind of explaining them for folks who, like, have maybe never really watched Twitch streams before, or Twitch-style streams on, like, YouTube or anywhere else, on Kick, whatever. Because I realized there were a lot of people who, like, haven't done that before and maybe didn't really know what was up with what I was doing. And I was like, I had someone who thought that I was just, like, sitting here silently cross-stitching. And I had to explain how it kind of works, that you, like, talk with the chat and you just kind of, like, talk to yourself, like whatever. And when I realized there were people who didn't quite get that, I was like, maybe I should do some explanations here. Although I did not feel like I explained it very well, because it was sort of a very impromptu thing. I didn't quite think through what I was going to say, and I feel like afterwards I thought of a lot better ways to describe it. Oh, Ace, you saw the video. Yeah, no, the snow is good. It snowed a lot more. I think I shot that on Saturday. And it snowed a lot more since then. I want to say we got like 5 or 6 inches where I'm at. It's not the most that we've had since I've lived here, but maybe I'm just spending more time outside because I feel like I've noticed some things with this round of snow that I don't remember noticing last year, which is mostly just like how much of it sits in the trees, and then when the wind happens, it's like it's snowing again, which sounds very obvious, but is not something that I felt like I experienced quite to the same extent last year as I have been this weekend. And Meow watched that video and was distracted by all the snow in the background. Yeah, there's a lot of snow here right now. Snowy New England. Oh yeah, Dor, you need a Finsta. Or the opposite of a Finsta, depending what type of person you are. But yeah, an Instagram without your face, so you can follow like Twitch people. You know, or not. It wasn't like an exciting video, and I will say, Dor, you were very much not the target audience for it, because the video was aimed at people who are not familiar with Twitch. And you are more familiar with Twitch than I am, so. Oh, okay, yeah, Ace, you're also in New England. Got a bunch of snow over the weekend. Yeah, I am in New England, where we got lots of snow. Yep, snowed all day into last night. That's why I didn't shovel until... Well, I shoveled a little bit yesterday morning, or maybe sometime on Saturday. I just wanted to like keep up with it so the bottom layer wouldn't turn into ice, and then I had to shovel so much today. Melby got 9 inches last week. Wow. Oh yes, Dor. There was... I posted pictures of the wax stamps that I was using last week. And Frame said that you would probably be able to identify the bird, although I'm not convinced it is like based on an actual species of bird. I don't know, maybe I can put that up on screen here in a bit. Right now I'm trying to decide how so here's one thing about these. These are like 3D. So I have decided, for all intents and purposes, that like this is the side that should look nice on like for the sides versus this. Like my priority is this looking nice, and then my priority is this looking nice versus the back. But it is still a 3D object that people will be handling, so I am trying to be mindful of like making it look neat on all sides, which you can tell from this one I'm not doing an excellent job at. And even the back, like I'm trying to be neat. That is not very neat. Oh, that's what I'm gonna cut some of that. Okay, that's what I just did. So it is a challenge. I like to think that I can be a fairly neat stitcher sometimes, but it's not usually my priority. And now I'm just gonna kind of cheat moving this over here by putting it under a little bit, just to like hide it just a little bit, because I don't feel like cutting it off and restarting it, because I've got a good amount of floss left here. Oh, that did not completely work. That's why you don't do these things. Especially with 6 strands of floss. Oh yeah, that didn't go through at all. Okay. So, what might I do here? I think... You back with your brothers. I'll save some time doing this. Cut to having to backtrack and spend even more time because it went horribly wrong. A little bit. It's a little bit what's happening here. I'm gonna make it work. Oh, now I gotta trim these. They got really uneven after all that. Shocking. Martu, is your username kind of like Mark by Mark Jacobs? That's what it's been reminding me of. Oh, it is. Martu is taken everywhere. Yeah, usernames... That's all. It can be surprising sometimes what things are taken everywhere. But I think that was a creative iteration. I saw some meme recently, like the reason that was even on my mind is I saw some... It wasn't even a meme, it was like a real picture of some kind of Mark Jacobs thing that was like Mark by Mark Jacobs in association with Mark Jacobs by Mark. And it's like just, it was like 6 things that were all like, wow, dude. I understand how some of these are different collections or different subsidiaries or whatever, but like since they all have your name, this looks ridiculous. Magnemite, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. If I am saying your username correctly, please correct me if I am not, but Magnemite. You're Wingspan obsessed? Well, welcome. I'm making these custom Wingspan organizers. These are for the food tokens. If you're obsessed with Wingspan, you probably got that. These are the only ones I've made so far. Nectar and wheat. And I made them different sizes so they can nest inside of each other when you pack them up in the box. Oh, Martu, thank you. Thank you for sending it along to a Wingspan fan. Well, then, Magnemite, I will also show you. So I'm making 6 of these for the food tokens. And then this is gonna be for the eggs. I'm just making kind of like the board game cover. And this I did not design myself. I'll look it up after this of the designer. I just bought it from a designer on Etsy. And this will come off. I don't know if you are a cross-stitcher, but this will dissolve and it'll just look like I stitched on the bag. But it's gonna be a bag with just kind of the Wingspan cover, and I'll have like the blue and green kind of going behind it, and that'll be for the eggs. And then I've got some other smaller bags for like the bonus token things. Okay, I keep saying I'm going to, so let me actually look up the pattern designer. Their name is Siri3. Let's see. S-I-R-I. Oh, Siri T-H-R-E. Siri T-H-R-E. Pattern designer of the... And Lauren told me what kind of bird it was, but I already forgot. I never remember what kind of bird this or any birds are. What am I doing? Okay, sure. It does make sense to me that people who are into Pokemon would also be into Wingspan. It feels... I mean, I think there's probably a lot of tabletop games that have good overlap like that, but you know, you're just kind of... You've got the cards with all of the info about each bird. You're collecting the birds. Oh, Joe, that's great. I'm not sure how to say his pattern designer's name, but Cerethra. Ooh, that doesn't sound nice. Cerethra. But they have an orange cat pattern on your short list. I feel like there's been a few of you cross-stitchers in here where, like, one of us has mentioned a pattern that we've kind of bookmarked, and then the others have been like, oh, I've seen that one. Scissortail flycatcher. Scissortail flycatcher is the Wingspan bird. There's a computer version of Wingspan? What? Well, you wouldn't need these physical organizers for that. Ace loves D&D and wants to branch out to other tabletop games. I'm not a huge tabletop gamer. I kind of fall into the category I was talking about at the top of, like, people who are not usually into tabletop games liking Wingspan. Yeah, so I do not have a lot of advice for you on that, but you should do it. Pokemon's creator was inspired by collecting bugs in his childhood. I love that. Oh, I like that a lot. The Wingspan computer version has beautiful music and narration and artwork, and it is on Steam, which Door has on their wish list despite their teacher saying don't play Wingspan. Interesting. I'm curious to look into that. I've never... Do you buy or rent things on Steam? I was about to say I've never rented something on Steam, but is it do you purchase it? Yeah, I'm gonna have to deal with that later, but I think off stream when I can focus on it a little bit more. You own it. Own it, own it. Okay. I remember when ebooks were... I was going to say when they first started. I think they probably started a long time before this. But, like, when the Kindle came out, and therefore ebooks were becoming a little bit more mainstream, like 2008, 2009. And I had this one friend who's, like computer scientist, I think, just was always very ahead, like, early adopter of tech stuff, and, like, very, very smart. And he would kind of go on some rants about how, like, people don't understand that they don't actually own these Kindle books. Like if you're buying an ebook through Kindle, and Amazon still technically owns it, and I don't know. It was like the iTunes era, and I was just very unconcerned by his warnings, and I can't talk while I look at this knot I'm trying to fix. But I feel like as time has evolved, and now we've gotten to, like, the streaming subscription era, and just how things go away all the time, like, somehow in my brain that has connected to, even if I purchase things digitally, like, not feeling confidence that I own them in the same way that I feel like I own physical things. Like, stuff, like movies I've bought on iTunes, I don't feel like I have ownership of in the same way that I do DVDs that I have bought. And, like, I think Amazon is probably the only one that I think maybe has done some stuff of, like, actually changing ebooks after people have bought them. Like, streaming services do that, but that's different. So I don't feel like I should reasonably-ish have this concern that if I bought a movie on iTunes, I would no longer have it. But I don't know. Yeah, and my whole point is, my friend from many years ago, I feel like I understand and care about what he was saying 20 years ago in a way that I didn't at the time. Unfortunately, yeah, other digital games. MP3s are great. Red's been downloading music for the last year and a half-ish. Ace, I am all about media preservation and Yeah, well, I mean, physical media, but also just like, what are we doing archives-wise, you know? Oof. Lauren's soup has souped. Lemon chicken orzo soup is made. Well done. 751, not too bad. Alright, I might need to give up on this piece of floss. It has a knot in it that is in a different way than I thought, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it work for this right now, but I can maybe reuse it for something else. All right. Melby says, I've been listening to your book, and it's the first time I've listened to a narrator that I've listened to on video or Twitch, and I keep thinking I can walk over to my computer and respond to something. I got that reaction from a lot of people who listened to my audiobook, of like, that it just seemed like a really long YouTube video I made, or like, yeah, people who were like my IRL friends, like forgetting that they couldn't just respond to me. So I am sorry. And thank you for listening to my audiobook. Sorry that you're hearing really cringy stories about my life all the time. and then you log on to Twitch, and I'm sharing more cringy stories about my life. Oh, I think I missed something in the chat because I just see Dor asking if the physical cartridges still taste bad. What? Don't put cartridges in your mouth. Aw, thanks, Ace. I think feeling that secondhand, you know, excitement or pride for people is a common enough emotion. I'm just laughing at Joe's question about Lauren's username being about her love of soup. Wow, Sarah, what a productive evening you're having. You got the main part of the graduation cap done, and now you're going to a workout class. I think that's a win. You just wrote down, oh no, while you were working. It's a little too relatable. Well, I apologize for that, Melby Toast. But thank you for saying you're enjoying it. Oh no. How did this not happen? This is the night of knots. Okay. Oh. Jeez. Okay. Okay. And did I just cut this or no? I did not. Oof. Blended floss. What did we say at the start? It's more annoying to work with, but it makes things look nice. Sorry to Sarah's cat. Void cat. Ghost kitten. Who's about to lose their napping place. Ooh, excuse me. I do feel like shoveling is about the only productive thing I did today. I guess I did a moderate edit on that little video I posted to Instagram. And I prepared for the stream. And I cooked and I cleaned. And I took a big shower. Context for non-Americans. In the US today is a federal holiday in honor of Martin Luther King. I just realized I often like to read some of his writing on this day, and I did not today. It's another thing I didn't do today. So it was like a weekend day for me. It wasn't supposed to be. There was stuff I was supposed to do. I didn't have my day job today, but like there was other work I was planning to get done, and I did not, because I think I just needed a little bit of a more chill day because I did a lot of stuff this weekend. And not like, oh, I went out and did so many things. I didn't leave my house. But I did some like deeper cleaning and organizing stuff. Did a big organizing of all of the Christmas and like winter and holiday decorations. And I did a big organizing of the bathroom closet. And then just like a million small chores on top of that, like laundry and cleaning humidifiers and vacuuming. And it was like football playoffs. So there was a lot of football to watch. I made another knot, by the way. That's what I'm sitting over here doing. Door, yes, go to sleep for your exam. Get some sleep for your exam. I hope your exam goes well. Thank you for popping in, but yes, go get some sleep. Ugh. I can't believe, like, I can't believe how many knots I'm encountering today. This has not been my experience otherwise in, you know, the, like, month or so that I've been working on these Wingspan containers and working with this blended floss. I don't know what's up tonight. I mean, it could partially be that I really am tired, and so I'm not, like, being as careful otherwise. Thread knots are the #1 thing that keep you from cross-stitching more often. They're usually not this much of a nuisance for me. I feel like I have some decent methods of avoiding them and then can usually figure out how to untangle them. But yeah, tonight I'm having a real issue. Oh, Melby spent the whole day with PWHL games playing. Is that women's hockey? Is that like professional women's hockey league? Oh, we got an ad break coming up in a couple of minutes as a heads up to folks. Because that's very cool, if so, Melby. I have never watched women's hockey, I will admit, but I've also barely ever watched men's hockey. I did see that the network behind Heated Rivalry is coming out with like a women's hockey romance. So that will be very exciting to see. I will watch that. Those of you who were here the last couple of weeks will be glad to know that I did finally watch all of Heated Rivalry. So I am in the know about Heated Rivalry now. Not being careful results in mini knots. Yes, yes. Oh, the PWHL set an attendance record this weekend. That's awesome. And they stream for free on YouTube. That's very good intel. Maybe I will check them out. I'll have to look up how hockey works first, though. So I know so I can like follow what's going on. Heated Rivalry is very book accurate. I will say, I don't feel a desire to go and read the book. But I loved Scott and Kip, who are these two, for people who haven't seen it, they're these two other characters. We get to see some of their story. And then I looked it up, and their story is the first book in the series, because Heated Rivalry is part of a larger series called Game Changers by Rachel Reed. And the first book was Scott and Kip, and so I'm excited to go read that. I want to read Scott and Kip's story. Maybe I'd be interested by the Ilya and Shane ones, because I kind of peeked at the summary. There's like I think there's 2 Ilya and Shane books and 1 more coming. And the summaries of those, I was like, okay, it's a little more interesting. Because I gotta say, I was not that interested in their story until like the last episode. And then when it ended, I was like, oh no, I want to see more now. Yeah, I think I wasn't... I want to see all the stuff that's coming after this. and there are other books. So maybe I need to read the first book so that I can get to the other books where things that I find more interesting are happening to Shane and Ilya. Before it got popular, Heated Rivalry. Ace saw it while scrolling, added my list for later, never got around to it. And then when it got popular, we're like, I could have been ahead of the curve. Same with Stranger Things. I feel like Stranger Things Season 1, I watched like the week it dropped. I am not sure how, but me and my friends were very much on top of that one. We watched it immediately. Melby's favorite couple is Ryan and Fabian. Which book are they? Also, welcome back from the ads, folks who were gone for the ads. Or no, the ad is starting soon. I got my notifications mixed up. Oh, Meow is still waiting for Heated Rivalry to be available in their country. Tough Guy Book 3 is Ryan and Fabian. Okay. Oh, and there go the ads. Melby, how would you say that Ryan and Fabian compare to Scott and Kip? Which I realized after the fact. I was like, oh, this is just a coffee shop AU. That's what we're doing here. I understand now. But I feel like when I looked at Wikipedia, there was another couple, and I wondered if, like, their story was blended with the Scott and Kip that we saw in the TV show. And so I was curious in this moment if that was Ryan and Fabian, if it's like a similar kind of setup. Joe, that is what I have started doing during the ad break. However, I should not even have a stitch tracker on tonight because I have not been counting these stitches. I have no idea how many I have stitched, which is why I did not update it the last couple of ad breaks, or right now. You've been counting. Oh, JK. I was like, what? No, the fact that I'm not working from like a pattern in my pattern tracker app, which usually tells me how much I've stitched if I've lost count, and I've just dealt with all these knots so much tonight, I have given up. But yeah, that is what I've been trying to do on normal nights, is use the ad break time to update the stitches. I still like the idea, in theory, of getting the Steam Deck or Stream Deck pedal and like updating the stitch counter that way, but I think it would be a similar thing. Well, I don't know, since it's my feet, because part of why I don't update it like stitch by stitch, even though I like built in these short keyboard shortcuts to do it, is I have to like put the needle down to do it. My hands are busy cross stitching, so if I had a pedal, I could maybe get into some kind of muscle memory where anytime I do a stitch, I'm hitting the pedal. Welcome back from the ads, folks who are gone. Thanks for sitting through the ads and supporting the channel. I have just been talking about the fact that I gave up on counting stitches. That's why the stitch counter is not updated, because I have no idea how much I've stitched tonight. Okay, I asked Melby for more information about Ryan and Fabian, who is a couple from book 3 of the Game Changer series, which is what Heated Rivalry is based on. Ryan is a defensive player, basically pigeonholed into enforcer fighter because of his size, but he's a huge softie. Fabian's a violinist, singer, very gender non-conforming guy. Ryan met in high school. Oh, they reconnect when Ryan gets traded to a new team. Okay, I like that. I like that setup. Lauren got an Olympics ad. Nice. Oh man, okay, I posted about this on Blue Sky. But has anyone else noticed? This is gonna be a very American thing, a bit. But the Olympics start the same week as the Super Bowl, which is also the same weekend that Artemis 2 is going to launch. Which it might not actually launch, but that's its like earliest scheduled launch date. For those who don't know, Artemis 2 is part of NASA's mission that Artemis 3 will be taking humans back to the moon for the first time in decades. Artemis 1 happened a couple years ago, and that was kind of like there were no people on it, and the spacecraft just went around the moon to make sure the spacecraft works. Now, a crew of people are going on that same craft around the moon. So they're not landing on the moon, but they're going to go, I think, all the way around. It's been a while since I've looked into the details. So this is the closest that humans are getting to the moon in decades. Ace went to the Kennedy Space Center a few weeks ago. That is awesome. But yeah, so Artemis 2 launch potentially happening that Friday. I think this is like the first or second week of February. Also that Friday, actually, depending on time zones, it'll be happening almost at the exact same time, will be the Olympic opening ceremony in Milan. And then that Sunday is the Super Bowl here in America. And the Super Bowl and the Olympic opening ceremony happening in the same weekend, to me, is mostly just interesting in a television perspective, because here in the States, the same channel is broadcasting both of those. And in the States, a lot of the like major network channels, like the kind that aren't cable, like NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox, they sometimes take turns with different things. NBC pretty much always has the Olympics, but I think the Super Bowl changes who has it, and like award shows are different networks. So I think it is wild that NBC ended up with both the Olympics and the Super Bowl, and they're kicking off the same weekend. And so I'm like, wow, that's a lot for TV. But in terms of Artemis 2 and the Olympic opening ceremony, I'm just like, this is like the feats of humanity. This is like peak of humanity in two hugely different but similar ways of like, we are going to show some of our best of the best athletes in the world, and we've got these humans flying off to the moon. It's just like, it's kind of wild to think about all of that happening at the same time. Sarah, thank you for your kind words about these little baskets. I hope you go enjoy your workout class and that your kitty isn't too mad at you. Ace, I have never been to the Kennedy Space Center. I've been to the Johnson Space Center, but I would love to go to, I think I'd like to go to the Kennedy one. Mostly, like, I really want to go to Artemis 3 launch. Artemis 2, that's happening soon. I'm not going to that. But, like, I'd love to go to the Artemis 3 one. And so maybe I would go to the Kennedy Space Center when I do that. But yeah, how was the Kennedy Space Center? Did I see a preview for Bad Bunny? I have not. If there's like a new preview, I saw the announcement video away whenever that was. Probably kickoff weekend of the NFL season. And I've not successfully done this yet, but I've been like, I want to listen to more of Bad Bunny before the Super Bowl so I can be more excited. Like, I'll be excited no matter what, but you know, so I can recognize songs. Because Bad Bunny is one where, like, his music just got played a lot in New York. So I know I recognize some of the songs when I hear them, but I probably wouldn't necessarily be like, oh yeah, that's Bad Bunny. Like, I'm not overly familiar with Bad Bunny's music. It's more just one of those, like, when you live in New York, you kind of get it from osmosis. I don't live in New York anymore. That's also a relevant point. I mean, meow, similar. So many humans doing awesome things that weekend. Meanwhile, I'll probably be happy if I finish my house stuff to-do list. I think that is how I feel most weekends. That's how I definitely felt this weekend. I had so much house stuff to-do list, and I did it, but I think that weekend I'm gonna have to, like, suspend some of my house stuff to-do list because there's too much exciting stuff to watch. Actually, I think I do have at least... I think I need to work on my library inventory that weekend. I think that might be what I have scheduled. But I'll do that on Saturday. Friday will be Artemis and the Olympics. Sunday will be the Super Bowl. Saturday, I'll do some house stuff. Okay, Ace got to see the Atlantis shuttle on display. Ooh, I love when a museum does a little bit of showmanship like that. You walk in, the music swells, the screen lifts up. They do that at the World Trade Center. Saying that out of context sounds a little grim. The Freedom Tower. I guess one World Trade's called the Freedom Tower. I had never, like, gone. I mean, it wasn't built when I first moved to New York. But I finally went shortly before I left. And it was a similar thing. We, like, walked in and we were, like, in this hallway. And they're doing kind of, like, the safety info. Like, it's just, you know, a person who works there telling us safety stuff. And there's, like, a screen behind them. And it probably played New York, New York. And I think it kind of showed the building of it. Maybe the history. They wouldn't have done the history of prior to building it. But there was something. It was very New Yorky, and I think it even felt like it was taking you up the tower all the way, but it was just all like digital. And then at the very end, it sort of like paused, and you were like, oh, that was nice. Okay, and you almost like start turning to like leave the hallway to go where you're supposed to go, and then the screen pulled up, and you were just looking out at New York. Like, turned down, it was a window, and like that's the view you were there to see at the top of Freedom Tower. Unless I made that up in my head. Maybe that's what I thought it was going to do and it didn't. Now I'm doubting my own memory, as usual. If that is what happened, it was very cool. But maybe it's not what happened. Okay, so there is a new Bad Bunny preview as of a few days ago. I like him as a person. Like, when I've seen interviews and SNL. When he's hosted SNL, I've loved it. To me, a lot of his stuff is like good summery music. So this is not the time that I would usually be listening to more like upbeat stuff. Yeah, I don't remember if that's... Because I know we discussed it a little of like... I thought this was going to happen, and I don't know, they punked us in some way. There was definitely some kind of punking happening. We're at 8:15. I'm just trying to decide if I have it in me to battle with this floss again. I think I want to do it. I'm gonna get one more thing, and I'm not gonna stitch the whole thing since it's already 8:15, but I want to get a couple of stitches in just so I can feel like I haven't lost the battle to this floss tonight. Okay. Speaking of music, I think we lost. Did we lose our music? Yes. Let's go back to I found a playlist today on Epidemic Sound called Back to the Future, which is my all-time favorite movie, so of course I had to listen to it. But actually, wait. Okay, this is just the first one. I gotta play you. I noticed a track on this playlist, and I was like, I recognize this track. I've bookmarked this before, and I can't remember if I've used it for something, but like, I definitely remember this track title. Why do I remember this track title? And then I played it, and it was immediately clear. There's something to it, and not all of you will get this, but Ace, I think that you will. So this is the start of the track. It's just like a royalty-free version of the Stranger Things theme song. And then changes after this. Like, it's already a little different. But it keeps going. Although that... once... And now it doesn't sound like it anymore. Yeah, it's called Crispy Days by Lupus Nocte. And it's just on Epidemic Sound, which is like a music licensing platform you can subscribe to. as a creator or a streamer or whatever. But yeah, this random song, I found it several years ago, and it cracks me up every time I encounter it again. Come on, Floss. We can do this. Together. We can blend without making knots. You've heard this on Hermitcraft before. Red Revelries, tell me. What is Hermitcraft? Oh man, I just had one of those Sunday Scaries moments where I remember that I have to work tomorrow, which is not bad. It's just like, oh, I gotta go back to the whole schedule tomorrow. Got a lot to do, things I didn't get to this weekend that I need to do on top of everything else. Hermitcraft are Minecraft YouTubers. Okay, I was thinking it was more like arts and crafts. So I'm a little disappointed, but that's cool. This would be a good Minecraft time-lapse video. I see that. Or this would be a good song for a Minecraft time-lapse video, rather. Sunday Scaries are for after craft time. Yeah, sorry I put that in people's heads. I just had like a, ugh. Yeah, did other folks in the US have the day off of work or like half off or anything? I had so many years of not having days off on federal holidays that feels like a new experience for me. Nice, no work for either of us, says Limical. Ooh, Dad used the day off to make chili. That sounds good. It's a good chili day. Oh, neither of you had work off. No work. Got it. I understand. Sorry. That sucks. I feel like you should have had the day off. That's what the government says. Although it's also, you know, there are so many types of jobs where that doesn't matter. But I happen to know what Limical and Mr. Limical do. And so I'm surprised that you both had to work. When I worked for a podcast network, the person who like managed our advertising partnerships would frequently forget about federal holidays, and so we would like have to put on a show on these days, which technically could have been done in advance, and sometimes I would, but like as a daily show, doing something in advance essentially meant making 2 podcasts in a day sometimes, so it was really hard. So in those years, I usually did not get federal holidays off or any vacation time or anything. It was hard. Mr. Limical is laughing. And then like, as a freelancer, I would always try to give myself the days off, but there was just always so much to do. So it would be really hard to find time in the schedule to actually take the 3-day holidays when a lot of my friends had them. And they'd be like, we're all going to the beach. And I'd be like, cool, good for you. I'm gonna edit videos for a client all day. See if that was there. Just gonna do a couple of stitches. Like I said, just... Also, wait, I just need to recognize really quick that I just totally got these 6 strands, 3 strands set up here without any knots. For the first time tonight, perhaps. Ugh. It feels good. The floss did not win. The knots did not win. I have done it. So, just gonna get this on here a little bit so that if I pick it up, or next time I pick it up, it'll be a little bit easier. I feel like sometimes I'm like, I want to fully finish this bit of floss to finish this like time of stitch, you know, if I'm stitching like while I watch something or whatever, and I'm like, I'll feel like I've like done and really cleaned up if I fully finish this. And then other times, like, it's actually so nice if I have just left something on here so I can just like pick it up without having to think about, oh, I gotta get the floss set up and the needle and you know. So I don't know, I'm of two minds about it. Yeah, meow, it is tough when you don't have the day off but other people do. I think that is tough in general. And the times when that has happened to me, I just also haven't had like any other time off to make up for it. And that makes it very hard too. I think we need breaks as humans. Humans who do too much in weird ways that we weren't evolved to do as animals. Okay. I feel like I could keep going. I feel like I'm on a good motivation from having gotten this done, but I also feel like it's getting a little bit late. I don't know. I'm so close. How long would that take for me to get there? Rest is so important. There's an organization called the Nap Ministry that I don't know a ton about. They just worked for someone I was or they like partnered with someone I was working for at one point. But I like the general idea, which is like a nonprofit that's like encouraging people to rest. I think the Nap Ministry is kind of a fun name. Okay, we've gotten some periodic check-ins, but now that I'm getting motivated to get to a good point on this one, I'm curious how other people's projects are going. How's the 18 count Ada, Joe? I think, let's see, other folks have left. I'm trying to remember some of the other projects, but Dor and Sarah are gone. Lauren, are you still eating soup? Or are you back to knitting? Oh, and Mikey's cowl. Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily expect anyone to have heard of the Nap Ministry, but if it sounds interesting, you can look them up. Red Revelry's working on a hat. Nice. Knit one for my work Secret Santa and have enough yarn left to make one myself. Well, that's fun. Yeah, sometimes with gifts that I craft, I'm like, I kind of like this. I should have made one for myself. Joe has a stitch count of 120, offering since I am being delinquent. Yes, I am sorry. Being delinquent today. I bet that I'm probably... No, I've probably done less than that today. So I think usually on a good stream, that's about what I get to. But I fought with the knots for so long. All right, Meow, you were coloring. You're on your last coloring page. Nice, nice. Melby's doing some fan art. Just playing around with a new drawing tablet. Mikey got 4 rows done of the cowl. Nice. You're telling me these aren't 19 stitches? Yeah, I know. I gave up on counting because it's too hard when I'm not tracking it like I usually do. Oh, Ace is drawing Pokemon. Oh, good, you started drawing. Nice. Yeah, Melby, I got my drawing tablet out for the first time in years over the weekend to try to start designing some sub badges the way that I want to, because I was sort of just like editing royalty-free PNGs, which wasn't working, and I was like, I can kind of draw, maybe I should just draw these, but my tablet just wasn't quite working. Oh, thank you for the follow, Dark Winnie. Welcome in. We're just stitching some Wingspan containers here. But yeah, I don't know, I think it was like an old and cheap tablet, and it just wouldn't stay connected, and so it was very frustrating, because I felt like I could maybe make some progress finally on those new sub badges. And then it didn't work. I need to look up maybe some troubleshooting. I tried like 5 different cables in case it was a cable issue, and that didn't quite resolve it. Now that I'm closer to this completion point, don't think I'll be able to quite get there on this round of floss. Maybe we won't finish this on stream tonight. Okay, Melby's laptop is supposed to be a touchscreen, but it's at the point where you need to replace the entire screen. Oh no. The guy at Best Buy basically just said, don't buy this computer again. No. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, that's no fun. That's not what you want to hear from tech support. Though, as frustrating as that is in terms of like getting a fix, sometimes it is validating to hear an expert be like, oh yeah, like this is actually bad, or like, you know, I feel like so often tech support will start at the like, did you turn it on and off? You know, they'll sort of assume that you have a basic problem and maybe you're someone you've already gone through all the basic troubleshooting, and so it can sometimes be refreshing when someone is like, oh yeah, you're right, this is actually a much more like extreme or unique problem. That's what we call class solidarity. Okay, I'm gonna snooze these ads. Well, we'll see. I can snooze them for 5 minutes. Maybe not more. But I don't like running them when I'm about to end the stream. And I thought I was going to end the stream, and then I got determined to try to finish this, but we'll see what happens. Oh, that's smart though, Melby, to run the diagnostics and come with the receipts. I've never gone that far, but in different things, not quite usually tech stuff, but there are, I don't know, I can't think of a good example now, but just times where I'm like, I need this person to know that I know what I am talking about and I have already done XYZ, and so like I make sure to explain what I've done, like using maybe the in language so that they can hear me use certain terms and be like, oh, okay, he does know what he's talking about or something. Which I don't like that we feel the need to do that sometimes, but here we are. That's how I feel about mental health when a therapist is like, yeah, the problem isn't you not trying hard enough. Yeah. When I was like 19-ish, I was going through a lot of different testing for like stomach problems. I've always just had like a lot of different stomach problems, and so like I was being tested for celiac, and I guess that was probably the main test, but all the testing came back negative, like in the good way. I didn't have anything. And this doctor at one point was just like, well, you know, it's probably just sort of like stress and anxiety. And she just looked at me and she was like, what would you have to be stressed out about? And I was like, what? I mean, I understand I was like a, you know, a 19-year-old with a lot of privilege, but I was still like a fellow human. And also teenagers and like college kids got a lot to be stressed about. It was very unaffirming. I did not appreciate that. And it has stuck with me so many years later. Yeah, some doctors can have pretty bad bedside manner sometimes. I mean, at least that doctor, like, it was either a PCP or a gastroenterologist. Like, at least they weren't, you know, a psychologist or something, or a therapist. Although I did have a therapist once who, let's see, I think this was all on the same day. Early in the session, he was saying something. He was like a cis gay man, and he was talking about um, frustration with like when he was younger. I mean, this is still a thing, but he was saying when he was younger, and so many people would just assume that bisexuality was like a phase on the way to becoming gay, and he was like frustrated that people didn't respect bisexuals like of their own identity. And then later in the conversation, he says, and this is going to be transphobic, but it's, you know, nothing that we don't all hear every day. He says, I don't know, I just feel like people who identify as non-binary are just like college girls going through a phase. And I was like, do you not hear yourself? You literally just said how frustrated you were when people said that about bisexual people. But that's what you think about non-binary people? Like, what? It was nuts. Oh, yeah, Melby, having the older person injury that you're too young to have. Yeah, I have been there. People being like, what do teenagers would be stressed about? I don't know, Darla. If you listen, you could learn what. That's good. Yeah, like, you know, I understand maybe being trained to like there's so many different things, diagnoses that anything could be, that you rule out the stuff that would not be common. But also, if you're not finding answers, maybe start thinking about the things that aren't common. I don't need every doctor to be freaking house, but like, come on. Yeah. I've been going through back stuff and trying to find answers, and I have been lucky that most of the like doctors and physical therapists that I've met with, when they've said things like you shouldn't be having this kind of pain at your age, they have not meant it as a so therefore you don't have pain. They have all had the perspective of therefore we should figure out what this is, because like that's not right. And I'm like, cool, good, that's refreshing. Yeah, Ace, it was auto-modded because you said bisexuality, so I gotta look into what's doing that, because I don't want that to be the case. I will look into that after stream. Um, I think bisexuality statistically is more common than, well, not being straight, but then being like just gay. I think there's been a handful of like surveys that have come out that it is. However, it is also much like many more people who identify as bisexuality. Yeah, that's exactly it. So many more of them are in the closet to most people in their lives. So like way less reported, basically, yeah. Okay, one more piece of thread. The Automod said it was oh my god, Ace is getting it again for not just for the word. Yeah, it keeps saying held for sexuality, sex, or gender. But we talk about that stuff all the time. I feel like other people use these words in here, so I don't know why you're getting flagged. Yeah, you're such a troublemaker, Ace. I gotta look at these settings before next stream. But it is weird because like I feel like we all say at least gay. The fact that that one had flagged it for gay was weird. It can sense the dangerous levels of queerness coming from you. That's it. That's gotta be it. Okay, so far so good on this floss. Getting the 6 strands together. Yeah, I mean, Ace, considering I am the one who has to click allow. Well, I guess that would be fine. I was gonna say, like, I'm about to start stitching again, so if you spam them all, I can't click them all. But if your point is to see which one, like, gets in and which doesn't, I just won't click any of them. I won't click allow. And that'll help your experiment. Could be using more than one in one message. That could be it. All right, here we go. We're gonna finish the lotus nest. I'm going to attempt to snooze the ads one last time, which means I'm on a time limit to finish this up and then pick someone to raid. I was just like, why is that screen all blue? And it's green, but it was because I wasn't holding this up to the camera. Where is that? Does that belong there? That looks right. Okay. Got some of my other floss in piles, making a little bit of a mess here. That's okay. Oh man, so close. I don't remember when I started this one. Probably at the end of December. I haven't been consistently working on it since then, but I've been working on it a good deal. So, point with that being, it will be satisfying to complete this one and be able to move on to the next one. The next food. I also need to work more on the scissor-tailed horned feather, whatever the whatever the bird is that's going on the egg bag. Because I have not worked on that in a long time. And it would be super satisfying to finish that up because it's gonna look great when it's done, but it looks a mess right now. I've also messed up the stitching on that one a lot, and I'm just kind of winging it, haha, in various places, but I think it'll still turn out fine. Okay, got just a few final stitches here. And then I'm gonna pick someone to raid. If anyone has recommendations, I will take those under consideration. We could start thinking about a raid message as well. What did we end up with last time? Oh, I think people were saying like Jack's Birds or something. Which is even more applicable this time to do some kind of bird thing. Maybe something like from the flock. The flock of birds descends. What was the name of the Wingspan bird again? I don't know. I just made it up a minute ago. Scissortail was in there somewhere. But yeah, I like the flock descends. Or the flock is descending, however you prefer your grammar to be. The flock descends. Okay. Final stitch. Scissortail flycatcher. We're done! This one is totally done. I will finish this up in a minute, but... Alright, so we got 2 wingspan nests now. We can go any direction. And they'll go in like that. Nice! And we will... Yeah, we'll finish the scissortail flycatcher another time. Thanks, everyone! Thanks for being with me while I worked on that. Help me get it done. Excuse me. Okay, let's check out who's online right now. Should we raid Tyler Oakley? Don't worry. Or Bob Ross. Oh man, ad starting in 3 minutes. Okay, so I gotta pick someone fast. Okay, follow this person. I don't... Oh, they're doing Minecraft. Well, a few of you are drawing, and there's this, like, art teacher that I started following recently, who seems, like, really nice and fun. Looks like she's drawing a wolf right now. And, oh, I think maybe trying to hit 5,000 followers or something. Okay, let's raid Casey Snow Art, if anyone knows them. Oh, thank you for the translation help, Joe. Good night, Mikey. Good night, Joe. I'm gonna get this raid to Casey started up, so just doing some drawing. I've enjoyed watching Casey's streams. Similar vibes to Crafters, in my opinion. I like watching a lot of drawing streams. Okay, so anyone who's gonna stick around for the raid, our raid message is going to be a flock descends, or anything along those lines, if you want to. Yeah, birds attacking. Fitting for a raid. But thank you all so much for being here tonight. Thank you for all of you who followed this week and folks who popped in for the first time. It's fun to see some new and old faces. And I hope you all, those of you who are crafting, got some good crafting work done. I gotta mute this. I'm hearing too many things in my headphones. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad that I appreciate all of your kind messages about my little wingspan designs that I was doing. And I'll see you all next week on, I think. Yeah, there's gonna be some Mondays coming up that I'm gonna be skipping, but I might try to do streams on other days. But this coming Monday, I think we're good. Okay. All right. Thank you all. we got the countdown going. Raid is coming up. I'll see you all in the chat over at Casey Snow Art. Night, everyone.